Shalom Israel, Shalom. As the brother Uriah, I want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach, Malak Yahushua. Another strong Shalom to all of the mighty brothers that go out there and labor on the highways and byways, making their body living sacrifice. In the rain, the tumults, the demons, the uprises, the uproars, they out there standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. Another strong Shalom to all of the mighty brothers that are not out there as of yet, but they're building themselves up, reading, praying, fasting, taking notes, being diligent, doing everything they can do to put themselves in a position to shake the hand and wake up the hope for elect. Another strong shalom to all that are mighty aquaf in this thing that sincerely reverence their husbands, being teachers of good things to the children at home, being quiet, shamefaced, submissive, loving, steadfast, cooking, sewing, cleaning, doing all of the righteous acts of our foremothers on fire for the Lord. Another strong shalom to all that are mighty aquaf that are not married as of yet, you understand, but building themselves up, being shamefaced and submissive to the coming of our Lord. Another strong shalom to all of the children in this thing, right, on fire, zealous, right, abstaining from all lust, concupiscence, and peer pressure, standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. And last but not least, another strong shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, making their body a living sacrifice for Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Right, this is going to be a Q&A, an in-depth Q&A. So any questions, comments, right, anything you want to bring out, parables, mysteries, allegories, we're going to go through it through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua that the Most High gives us, right? And we're going to break it down through the spirit of the Most High, right? And I'm going to share my screen, right? Give me a strong con if you can see the screen. Give me a strong con, right? If you can see the screen. Right? I'm going to dive into the class. Right? It's the mighty book of Sirach, chapter 39, and verse number 1. And it reads, "But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in a meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient." All the ancient are our forefathers, and the wisdom that the Most High has given to the servants, the prophets, to be able to break down. So if you give your mind to the laws of God, the Lord will give you a spirit to understand prophecy, understand wisdom, and understand knowledge, and be occupied in prophecies. So the Most High say you have to be occupied in this thing, man. A lot of people aren't occupied. They're chilling, right? You have to be occupied in the spirit of prophecy, in the spirit of the Most High, right? I want to get that word occupied, the definition. Right? It says when you're busy with work, you're occupied, you're engaged, right? Check that out, man. So you have to be engaged in this thing, man. In all of the prophecies of the Most High. And that's why we're diving in through the spirit, right? We're going to touch on all of these questions, right? And I'm going in order. So whoever got in first, right? That's how we're going to deal with it. It's the first question. Shalom. Knowing that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west during daylight, how do you determine direction during nightfall? Wouldn't it be based on the moon? Right? That's a great question. Right? So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to dive into it, man. Right? Now the moon rises in the east and sets in the west, right? Just like the sun does. Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to Numbers, the 2nd chapter. This is Numbers chapter 2 and verse number 3. It says, on the east side toward the rising of the sun. So our forefathers knew about direction. They knew about the constellations. They knew about the North Star. They knew about the polar star. They knew about all of these things. They knew about the rising of the sun, right? They knew about the rising of the moon and the different places and ordinates where everything would be in its seasons. It says, and on the east side toward the sun, the rising of the sun, shall the standard of the camp of Judah pitch throughout their armies. And Nashalon and Abimelech shall be captain of the children of Judah. Now let's dive into it. Moon rises in east. Right? Now it says the moon's motion through our sky is similar to that of the sun, but different. Like the sun, the moon rises in the east and sets in the west, right? So when you're going into it, the moon rises in the east. So during the daytime, you may see the sun. Now, as the sun is rising, you're going to say, well, it rises in the east. So in the beginning of your day, you may be driving to work, whatever the case may be, running errands early in the morning. The sun is going to rise in the east so that you can look and say, well, I know what direction I'm in, the east. So behind you has to be the west. So you have to have a mind of a compass. All right, let me get this real fast. Right? Got to have a mind of a compass. Now it starts at north. Then on the right-hand side of north is east. So you have east right in front of you. Behind you would be west, right? So you have to have that mentality of a compass to know. Now the moon during the daytime, it's coming up in the east. And as it makes its way, it's going to make its way to the west during around the nightfall. But the moon's constantly changing. It's not staying in one specific spot so that you can say, well, that's the east or that's the west. Just like time. Time throughout the sun is constantly moving from the direction of the east until it's making its way to the west. Right? Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to the mighty book of Isaiah. It's Isaiah chapter 38. Right? And I'm going to start. I mean, this whole thing is fire. Right? But I'm going to start at verse number 6. Right? I'm going to start at 5. And go and say to Hezekiah, thus saith the Lord, God of David thy father, I have heard thy prayer. I have seen thy tears. Behold, I will add unto thee thy days 15 years. So when Hezekiah was going to die, the Lord added unto him 15 more years into his life. And I would deliver thee and this city out of the hand of the king of Assyria. And I would defend this city. And this shall be the sign unto thee from the Lord, that the Lord will do this thing that he hath spoken. Behold, I will bring again the shadow of the degrees. It says the shadow of the degrees because the time as we know it is based off of shadows, off of the sun. You have a sundial. And as the temperatures, right, and the time of the day start to go down, you understand? It'll show the shadow on a sundial and you'll be able to see what time it was. So before there were watches and clocks, we had all of these different things and batteries. They had sundials. And you would know the degree on what's going on predicated off of the sun. That same ideology, like I said, is with the moon, but you don't have a shadow. The moon rises in the east and sets in the west. Now, if you have a compass and a mind of a compass, let's go back to that real fast. You will always have the mentality what time and what season that you're going to be in and what time of the day. 12 o'clock, that's the hottest of the day. You should be able to tell the time, predicated off of the sun and the moon. The Lord even said in the book, right, of Matthew, the 16th chapter, you hypocrites can discern the signs and the coming of the seasons, but you can't discern the coming of the Son of Man. Right? This is the book of Matthew, chapter 16, and verse 2. It says, he answered and said unto them, when it is even, ye say, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. When you can see that gray cloud and perceive that it's going to be rain. You can see certain things in that blast of wind, and you know that it's going to be hot, or whatever the case may be. And in the morning, it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and lowering. O ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky, but ye cannot discern the signs of the times. Right? So that's how you would go through it, through the spirit, predicated off of the moon. Now, when the wind blows, because I know that's a two-part question, how do you also give yourself a sense of direction based on the blowing of the wind? That's a beautiful question as well. So the wind, let's go to Ecclesiastes, the first chapter. So it's not just you come outside and your damn fringes blowing the wind. The Lord is doing things to show you and teach you constantly. The beasts of the earth, they teach you. Man teaches you, right? And even the heathen teach you. The Lord said, never trust thy enemies. What happens when you trust your enemies? And the Lord confounds you and overthrows you. So everything is teaching you. Let me get this quick precept. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 1, right? And I'm going to start at verse number 5. It says, the sun also, so like the sun also arises and the sun goes down and hastened to the place where he arose. I mean, everything's in unison. Nothing is breaking its cycle. The wind goeth about toward the south. So if it goeth toward the south, it's coming out of the north. So if you're standing right here, like I'm standing, the wind's blowing to the south. So that means it's coming from the north. So if I feel the wind coming from this direction, smacking me, it's going toward the south. So I would turn to my left and I would know that I'm on the north. Right from the north, I would know that on my right-hand side is the east. Then I would know behind me is the west. Then I would know in front of me is the south. So that's how looking at the wind and blowing in its circuit, you can say, okay, even if it's nighttime, if it's daytime, if it's the middle of the day, you could always kind of through the spirit of the Most High and the creation of the sun, the moon, the stars, right, for the seasons, the wind for direction, right, the sun for the time of day, the moon for the day, right, the wind, right, for the direction, and also you have lightning. Now, lightning always shines in the east, right? Let me get that real fast. So even if it's, it's a stormy day, like the wind is blowing all crazy, it's like Euroclydon and all hell is breaking loose, right? The sun is hidden behind the clouds and you can't see the moon, maybe the new moon or something, and all hell is breaking loose and it's a storm outside, you still could tell the time, right? Let's get that in Matthew chapter 24. This is Matthew chapter 24, right? I mean, this whole thing is fire. But I'm going to start at verse number 27. It says, for the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even to the west. So when you see lightning and it's a storm, guess what direction is coming out of? The east. So if the wind is blowing all crazy, it's a storm, the rain is coming down, guess what? That lightning's going to always shine in the east. So in the days to come, your survival tactics and understanding are very important. No, don't let nobody just tell you you don't have to know carnal knowledge. Carnal knowledge is important. We all learn how to tie our shoes. We all learn how to cook. We all learn what temperature was profitable to cook whatever the case may be in a pot. That's practical knowledge. You have to know practical knowledge in nature, how to start a fire, what direction you're living in. All of this is profitable to surviving. Yeah, the Most High can do anything, but you don't want to tempt the Lord. That's Matthew chapter 4 and verse 7. Oh, the Lord got me. The Lord got me. The Lord got me. Yeah, the Lord got you, but to what extent through your foolishness and folly is the Lord going to have you? Does that mean I jump off of a cliff and say the Lord has me through faith? Go inside of a moving traffic and say the Lord got me? Hey, even Satan tried to tempt the Lord to cast himself off of the cliff. Because it is written the angels will bear thee up. But Yahweh Shai knew that that's tempting the Most High. Don't tempt the Most High by not taking carnal knowledge and things you need, right, for survival. This is the book of Matthew chapter 4 and verse 7. Yahweh Shai said unto him, it is written again, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. Right? In the days to come, don't mean you lay up under a tree and say the Most High got me. Now, I'm waiting on the ravens to come and feed me like Elijah. Right? We don't tempt the Most High. So all of this is to be taken in consideration on the days, you understand, and all of the things as we start to move in the days to come. Next question. When the righteous are beamed up into a chariot, surrounded by all the destruction taking place at the end of the world, where then are they placed and what happens next? Well, that's a beautiful question. So what happens after we're beamed up and where are we placed? Let's go to the book of Revelation, the 15th chapter. Just Revelation chapter 15, right? And I'm going to start at verse number 1. And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues. Now these 7 angels are the same angels that bear the trumpets, that also bear the vials. For in them is filled up the wrath of God. And I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire. Now that sea of glass mingled with fire is talking about the firmament. It's not talking about anything else, other than the firmament, right? Right? It says, sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that have gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of God. That's all parabolic talk. We're not literally going to stand on a sea of glass. Standing on a sea of glass is the firmament. The firmament is likened unto glass because they're likened unto windows. The Lord looks down through the windows and beholds man. That's in Wisdom of Solomon. So like it's Song of Solomon, the 2nd chapter. Let me get that real fast. This Song of Solomon, chapter 2, right? And I'm going to start at verse number 9. My beloved is like a roe or a hart. Behold, he standeth behind our wall. He looketh forth at the windows. He sheweth himself through the lacing. Right? So the Lord is showing himself right through the lacing. And he's looking upon the windows. What is that talking about, man? Does the Most High have windows in the 3rd heaven in his tabernacle? So he's showing himself through like a lacing. Right? I mean, he's going to reveal himself. And those windows, it's all parabolic, right? You got to see that this is written in dark code for you not to really understand it, right? It says, my beloved spake and said unto me, rise up, my love, my fair one, and come away. So if he's looking through the windows and the very next thing he says is rise up and come away, that means that what? Get beamed up. Rise up, meaning stand upon your feet, right? Like it says in the book, right, of Revelation, that 11th chapter, verse 11 and 11 all the way down. Rise up, my love. My love is what? We're the Most High's beloved. We're his bride. My fair one, come away. Come away mean what? Be bidden to the marriage. Ascend up. For lo, the winter is past. Winter is a season, which is what? Where everything dies. Everything is going to die in Jacob's trouble. World War III, destruction and bombs. All of that's passed over. You're not going to have World War III in the kingdom. You're not going to have Jacob's trouble in the kingdom. All of these things of winter and destruction and famine and pestilence is gone. The rain is over and gone, right? Meaning what? The sun come out. The flowers appear on the earth. And that's all spiritual because we're the flowers. And we're going to be manifest and appear on the earth in the sight of all of the heathen, right? So let me go back to it. So what's going to happen is we're going to stand upon the firmament, which is the chariots. So the so-called UFOs are going to descend up over all of the earth. And as World War III is going on at its peak of Armageddon, we're going to be at the top on those chariots. We're going to ascend, you understand, from the diverse places where the Lord has beamed us up, and he's going to take us to Jerusalem. How do we know that? Let's read it. Let's go to the mighty book, right, of Ezekiel, chapter 20, right? And then we're going to go to Zechariah. This is Ezekiel chapter 20 and verse number 35, right? It says this. I'm going to start at 33. As I live, saith the Lord God, surely with the mighty hand and with the stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you. And I will bring you out from the people and will gather you out of the countries wherein you were scattered. Meaning what? Lord's going to beam us up in chariots of all the diverse places of the four corners of the earth with a mighty hand, with the stretched out arm, meaning with destruction and strength, and with fury poured out, right? Meaning destruction. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face. The wilderness that is talking about, it's not talking about a strange place, man. Well, what nobody knows about, and it's just in wilderness. No, the wilderness is talking about Israel. How do we know that the wilderness is talking about Israel? Because it tells you. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel. Let's hold this prophecy. That's why you got to link up the prophecies like you link up the precepts. Let's go to Ezekiel, right? Chapter 38. Now, keeping everything in context, this is exactly when we're beamed up. The Lord says he's going to take us to the wilderness. This is Ezekiel chapter 38 and verse, right, number 10. It says, thus saith the Lord, it shall also come to pass that the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. Now, these are the nations, right? Gog and Magog, and their armies that are going to be issued with them. It says, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest. At rest is the kingdom. Now, a kingdom doesn't mean that as soon as we get beamed down, it's going to be pearly gates and streets of gold and servants. No, when we get beamed up, war is still going to be on the earth. When the Lord is on the earth, war is still going to be on the earth. The Lord has to destroy the remaining of these nations in the wilderness. It says that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, having neither bars nor gates. So when we get beamed back down, we're going to be beamed back down in our own land, in the wilderness. And we're not going to have bars, nor are we going to have gates. We're not going to have walls. Why? Because the heathen are going to have to build all of that up. War is still going to be on the earth. Soon as we get beamed up, that don't mean that all of war stops in the midst of Armageddon and everybody just evaporates like a movie. No, it's still going to be bombs dropping, war, yells, screams, Armageddon, and destruction. We're just going to be taken out of that, and the ungodly is going to be destroyed, right? So it says walls and having neither bars nor gates. Now I want to go to Zechariah, right? Chapter 12. It's like 14. Zechariah chapter 14. And I'm going to start at verse number 1. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee. Right? Because when the Lord comes back, he's going to destroy all of these nations, and all of the spoils of war are going to go to the high priest, Yahweh Shah, and it's going to go to us. Because that's what happens in war. You take down nations, you take their spoil. And I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle. And the city shall be taken, and the houses raffled, and the woman ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity. And the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. So when the Lord comes back, people are going into slavery, death and destruction is going on, and all hell is going to be breaking loose. Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations. So when the Lord come back, it's a chain of events that has to happen. The Lord's going to go forth and fight against those nations as he fought in the day of battle. Meaning what? The day of battle is when he took down the nations by the hand of the holy angels and Yahweh Shah with that fathership. Then you're going to go back to war again through the hand of the 144,000 and Yahweh Shah on the head of him. He's going to divide these men up through the four corners of the earth and take down spoils and nations that are in underground bunkers, clefts of the rocks, and the kings of the earth. It says, and his feet shall stand in that day upon Mount Olives, which is before Jerusalem. So where's the Lord going to be when he comes back? Standing in that day upon Mount Olives, which is before Jerusalem. Check that out. So it's telling you where the Lord's going to be. It's telling you what war is going to be at and where his people in battle are going to take place. So it's letting you know. So when we get beamed up, you understand the Lord's going to take us and he's going to put us into where? Into our homeland, which is classified as the wilderness. It's the wilderness because it's barren. It's not built up. It has no walls, no bars. Like it says in unwalled villages. An unwalled village looks like a wilderness. Let me get this real fast. Look at this. Unwalled villages. See, right here, it's showing, pillars and walls. But if that's not there, then what's going to be there? Grass. Nothing. It all has to be built up. Because in war, things are going to be destroyed. Right? So let's go back to the next question. right? I remember last year you guys, WFI, proclaimed a nationwide fast to whoever wanted to participate. I was wondering if y'all can set that again this year. That's a beautiful question, right? Most High willing, we can, right? We need to reach out to the elders of the nation, and most High willing, everybody could come together under one accord, right, at all their camps and proclaim a nationwide fast. I believe the last time we had a nationwide fast, it was a blood moon. All hell broke loose, man. So the Most High definitely sees and hears the cries of the saints. So, I'm gonna most definitely talk to brothers, and Most High willing, we could gather together under one accord, and dive into that again very soon. Next question. Greetings, are the servants and handmaids in Joel 2:29 talking about Israel who are positions of servitude like the eunuch mentioned in Acts, the 8th chapter? Let's go to it. Right now, essentially, the Most High has put his spirit upon all flesh, if you have ears to hear. All flesh are being manipulated by Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Right? Let me get this quick precept. Wisdom of Solomon. Right? Chapter 12, verse 1. For thy incorruptible spirit is in all things. So Yahushua's spirit is in Esau. It's in Moab. It's in Ammon. It's in the grass. It's in the beast. Right? It's in the angels. It's in everything. But you have a spirit, you understand, of the elect, life, peace, mercy, grace, understanding, and wisdom. And then you have a spirit, you understand, of a crooked, perverse nation. Everything has to move by the spirit of the Most High, right? It says, for thy incorruptible spirit is in all things. The Lord's spirit creates and moves all flesh. Because if we were to stop moving me and having me to talk, I would give up the ghost. The Lord said in a book, right? I don't gotta get too in depth with too many precepts, but the Lord said in Wisdom, Salakia, in Revelation, the 9th chapter. Right, let me get this quick precept. It says, let me see what I want. Verse 15. And the 4 angels were loose, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, but to slay the third part of men. See, at these angels, fully created, for prepared for an hour, a day, and a month. Meaning the Lord just created these angels to be bound up, that they may be loosed to slay the third part of men. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. So this is in the time of World War III. So the Lord has certain nations, you understand, getting ready to push the button. He has angels bound up, getting ready to be loosened. Right? The Lord said that these nations, they're going to be like frogs, man. Let me get that real fast. This is the mighty book of Revelation, chapter 16 and 13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. Right? And now these are angels, these spirits that hopped in these nations to manipulate these nations. They're having a war. They're having to create confederacies. To have them to want to do peace treaties, to have them to want to break peace treaties. So the spirit of the Lord is solely in all things, right? So in Joel, going back to Joel, right, chapter 2, let's start at 29. I'm going to start at 27. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel. When are you going to know that? When the Lord redeems his people, and that I am the Lord your God and none else, and my people shall never be ashamed, right? And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions, and also upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my spirit. And I will shew wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. Now you have certain nations, right? Like you had Nebuchadnezzar II. He dreamed dreams that were prophecy, right? When you read the book of Daniel, the second chapter, when you read the book of Daniel, right, all of these chapters, right, is going into what? It's going into the beast. It's going into the figure, right, that Daniel saw upon the head, right, the torso, the shoulders, the thighs, right, the shins, and the feet and the 10 toes. Nebuchadnezzar dreamed that. You also had Balaam. He dreamed the dream. His eyes wide open, snapping into a vision. So heathen can have a vision or a prophecy or a dream that's not out of the ordinary. Right, let's go to Numbers chapter 24 real fast. Right, it's the book of Numbers, right, chapter 24 and verse 16. It says, he have said, which hear the words of God and knew knowledge of the Most High, which saw the vision of the Almighty, falling into a trance, but having his eyes open. Right, this man is a heathen, right, a known sorcerer. It says, I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. It shall come a star out of Jacob, and a sepulchre shall rise out of Israel, and shall smite the corners of Moab and destroy the children of Seth. Right? Didn't Herod's wife have a dream about Yahushua? Right? So these heathens, they can have dreams. It's not a mystery or unbelievable for the Lord to pour out his spirit and it for it to touch all flesh. All flesh is going to know about the Lord. Right? But chiefly in Joel, the second chapter is talking about Israel. Let's go to the next question. Right, second Ezra 12 and 23. Are the three kingdoms going into China, Russia, and the U.S. top three wicked nuclear forces today through the Spirit? Right, let's go to second Ezra. Right, chapter 12 and verse 23. Second Ezra chapter 12 and verse number 23, and it reads, in the last days shall the Most High raise up three kingdoms and renew many things therein, and they shall have dominion of the earth. Now, when it says that the Lord's going to raise up three kingdoms, you have to understand that the Most High is raising up these kingdoms on the earth. These are going to be your top ruling empires, your top nations. Let's go to Revelation, right? And let's go to the 17th chapter. And we're going to start at verse 12. Right? We're going to start at verse 9. It says, and here is the mind which have wisdom. The seven heads are the seven mountains on which the woman sitteth. Now the woman, right, is talking about Babylon. Let's start at verse 1. And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither, and I will shew thee the judgment of the great whore. The great whore is America, which sitteth upon many waters. The many waters are the nations that she does trade with. She has religion, currency, and all type of things going in and out, where she manipulates, runs down, steals oil, goes to war. She sits upon all of these nations. Now that's twofold, meaning she laid down with them, right? What religion enforces her religion and sorcery and customs and all manner of lewdness and witchcraft upon them, right? As sitteth upon them many nations, meaning rule. Meaning America is the top nation, which whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. Now, yes, they committed fornication, but you also have forcing in the Bible. America forces you in the bed, man. It makes you an American. It forces you with sorcery to be an American. It says in Proverbs the 7th chapter, she forced him. Let me get that real fast. It's the book of Proverbs chapter 7 and verse 21. With her much fair speech, she caused him to yield. With flattering of her lips, she forced him. Who is this she? America. America has much fair speech, much hope, prosperity, love, equality, peace, but she's causing him to yield from the truth through all of the religion, the money, the excitement, Hollywood, the fame, with flattering of her lips. You could be an American, live your dreams. Your aspirations are here. You can serve God and the beast. She forced him. So these nations, yeah, they committed fornication with America, but they were forced to. They were forced to lay down, right? It says, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Meaning what? The wine that a normal person may drink is Merlot, Pinot, or whatever the case may be. White wine, right? Moscato. The wine that America gives you, it says is her fornication. Meaning she's forcing you to drink and lay down. She's forcing you. America forces you. So keeping everything in context, I'm jumping down to verse number 8. It says, I'm going to start at 7. I don't want to get too long-winded, but, to get a sense. And the angel said unto me, wherefore did thou marvels? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and the beast that carrieth her, which have the 7 heads and the 10 horns. So America is sitting upon this beast. The beasts are the ruling empires of Esau, who's on top of that having rulership, meaning have taken down all of those nations, is America. And the 10 horns, the common market. The beast that thou sawest was and is not. The beast is really talking about the Roman Empire, right, which fell 476, right, AD. Right, it says, which thou sawest and was not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. The bottomless pit is Europe, right? And shall ascend out of that and go into partition, meaning destruction. It was not because it came out of the power. You had the Western Roman Empire, you had the Eastern Roman Empire. Right now, the Eastern Roman Empire, right, had the Holy Roman Empire, right, and all of that. We're not going to get too deep. The Byzantine Empire, right, the Ottoman Empire. So when you go through all of this, the Western Roman Empire fell. That's what it's talking about. But then the Eastern Roman Empire continued, right? And like I said, we're not going to get too deep. I did a breakdown on this. Check it out through the spirit until you get to roughly around the Dark Ages. Right? Let's go back to it. Right? And it reads, the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, meaning the Roman Empire, and is not because it came out of power, and yet is because it came back as America. Now you had the fire of Rome, you had the barbarian invasion, right? And then you had the infrastructure of Rome that fell, came back as America. And here is the mind which have wisdom. The 7 heads are the 7 mountains. Mountains are nations on which the woman sitteth. So she's sitting, meaning having rulership over French, Spain, Germany, Russia, Greeks, Roman, and Great Britain. She has rulership over them, right? And there are the 7 kings, 5 are fallen. So out of those 7 I just named, 5 of those have failed. The ones that remain, you understand, like I said, you have French, Spain, Germany, Russia, Greeks, Romans, and Great Britain. Now you have Rome and you have Russia. And one is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue for a short space. And the beast that was and is not even is of the 8th. It's of the 8th because America isn't one of the 7 heads. It's the 8th. It comes out of Rome. 5 of these are fallen, and one is, and the other is not yet come. So, I mean, you got to really look at it that Rome got destroyed, but it was during the time of John. That's why it still remained. It said the 8th and one is of the 7th and going to partition. That one that is of the 8th and is of the 7th is America, because America is Rome. It's the 8th, not a part of the 7th, but it comes out of the 7th, meaning it comes out of the Roman Empire. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as of yet. I went to this to break down 2nd Ezra 12 and 23, because you have the ruling empire, which is America. That's inevitable. It's evident. But then you have the 10 horns, which is the EU. They're ruling. It says, and this is the revelation, the reveal, the end days. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, is the point, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. So their rulership is now the EU. Their crafty counsel, their manipulation, their sorcery, and all of their confederacy is right now 1 hour, meaning a very small time, with the beast. The beast is America. But then you have, like I said, 5 are fallen. You still have Russia that's remaining. So Russia is coming into power, and there's a power as of now. Now, a lot of people say, well, what about China? Whatever the case may be, or dealing with that. The Lord's going to take down China, right? Let me hold this and get this quick precept through the Spirit. Let's go to 2nd Ezra 15. Matter of fact, I'm going to start at 16. It says, woe be unto thee, Babylon and Asia. Woe be unto thee, Egypt and Syria. So the Lord's saying, woe unto these nations. Right now, we're going to dive down. And we're going to start at, let me see, chapter 15. So the Lord just said, woe unto them in the 15th chapter. Now, it's like the 16th chapter. Now, the 15th chapter, we're going to start at verse 43. And they shall go steadfastly into Babylon, meaning the dragons of Arabia and destruction coming out of the east shall go steadfastly into Babylon and make her afraid. And they shall come to her and besiege her. The star and all wrath should they pour out upon her. Then shall the dust and smoke go up in the heaven. And all they that be about her shall bewail her. And they that remain under her shall do service unto them that have put her in fear. And thou, Asia, thou art a partaker of the hope of Babylon, and art the glory of her person. Woe be unto thee, thou wretch, because thou hast made thyself like unto her, and thou hast decked thy daughters in whoredom, and they might please the glory of thy lovers, which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee. Right? So Asia is trying to be like America. They're trying to be the next power. They're trying to deck themselves like they're trying to do trade like America. They're moving in the spirit of America. It says, thou hast followed her that is hated in all her works and inventions. Therefore, saith God, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death. And the glory of thy power shall be dried up as a flower. Right? So what? You're going to have Babylon destroyed, coming and being weakened, but you're also going to have Asia that's being weakened. Now, the EU is going to destroy America along with Russia and the Mossad. So that's letting you know if they're going to be dried up, right? And the Lord's going to get rid of them in World War III, and the powers that be, you're going to have Russia, you're going to have the EU that the Mossad is going to have to destroy through Yahweh Shai and the hand of the holy angels, along with Asia. So you have rulerships that are going to remain, then ones that are going to proceed a little past that, right on a timeline of prophecy. Let me jump down to the end of this. I'm going to start at 60. And in the passage, they shall rust in idols, Slakia, of the idol city, and shall destroy some portion of thy land, and consume part of thy glory, and shall return to Babylon that was destroyed. Right? Like I said, I ain't going to read this whole thing, but Asia is not going to be one of those three, right, that the Most High is talking about. Right? Let me get 2 more precepts on that. Let's go to Isaiah, the 16th chapter. It's Isaiah chapter 6, 16 and 6. We have heard the pride of Moab. He is very proud, even of his haughtiness and his pride and his wrath, but his lies shall not be so. Therefore shall Moab howl, for Moab every one shall howl. For the foundation of Kirkenes shall ye mourn, surely they are stricken. So the Lord, this is already happened, but it's twofold. It's going to happen all over again. They're going to howl and they're going to be destroyed. Verse 13. This is the word that the Lord has spoken concerning Moab since that time. But now the Lord have spoken, saying, within 3 years, as the years of an hireling, and the glory of Moab should be contemned with all that great multitude, and the remnant should be very small and feeble. So they're going to be feeble. Even though they're strong as of now, they're going to be broken down over time and be feeble. So those three heads would be Russia, EU, and America. America's ruling. EU is ruling 1 hour with the beast. And Russia is like an umbrella. And under Russia, you have confederacies like China. China is confederate with Russia. China isn't over Russia in a ruling empire. All right, let's go to the next question. All right. Shalom family, how about Shemiyah Shah, Barakatah? All praise to the Most High. Right? With the understanding of regeneration, if Yahweh Shai is Adam, Solomon, Melchizedek, and Isaac, will they all be in the kingdom, or will it just be Yahweh Shai HaMashiach? Right? Let's go to the mighty book of Matthew. These are some great questions. It's Matthew chapter 8 and verse 11. And I say unto you that many shall come from the east and west, and shall sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. So the Lord is telling you, in the kingdom, you're going to sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Meaning Isaac is going to be in the kingdom, and Jacob, and Abraham, and Yahushua. Yahushua is going to sit on the throne. So yeah, Isaac is going to be in the kingdom. These men are going to be in the kingdom. Don't forget, the Lord transfigured. Right? Let me get that real fast in Matthew chapter 17. All right. This is the mighty book of Matthew chapter 17 and 2. It says, and was transfigured before them, and his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elijah talking with him. They have to understand, I may move in a spirit of, I don't know, I'm not going to use me for example. A brother may move in the spirit of Elijah, right? But that doesn't mean that Elijah's spirit is only one spirit, because a double portion got taken upon Elisha. Elisha had his spirit and Elijah's spirit placed upon him. Doesn't mean Elijah was never going to come back on the earth. So we take on the spirit of our forefathers. That's why the Lord said, who men say that I am. And you have regeneration, but you also have that spirit of the prophets that's resting on that man. He got to be somebody like Jeremiah. I mean, he's always prophesied. He's setting his face against him. He's shaking the hand. He's going against the king's court. Nah, he got more of a spirit of Ezekiel. A lot of people have, the similar spirits, right? It says, and was transfigured before them, and his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as light. And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elijah talking with him. Now, where did they come from? They came from Yahushua, because Yahushua transfigured. Meaning he became Moses and he became Elijah. So, I mean, you don't want to get too deep, break it down the Most High by Shem Yahushua, because you're going to get bugged out. We don't know what the Most High is thinking. We don't know how long the Most High's robe is. We don't know what Yahushua is doing right now, right, to a T. But all we know is what's written. It's written that he could transfigure. It's written that Isaac is going to be in the kingdom. It's written that our fathers will come from the east and be leaders again on the earth in 2nd Ezra, right, the 1st chapter. Right, let me get that real fast. So, yeah, these men are coming back, and yeah, these men are going to be in the kingdom. Right? Let me get this quick precept. It's the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 1. And I'm going to start at verse, 39. Unto whom I will give for leaders. So he's given for leaders. It's around 400 something BC. But yet Abraham's coming back. He's going to give as a leader. Isaac and Jacob, right? For leaders to the people. So they're going to come back on the earth. So men are going to always be regenerated throughout every lot and every generation. They're going to stand in their lot. Right? Let's go to the next question. Shalom, shalom. All praise to the Most High. Yahweh Shem Yahushua, Barakatham. Right, shalom. 1 John 5 and 17. What is the sin not unto death? Let's go to 1 John chapter 5 and verse 17. And it reads, all unrighteousness is sin. Meaning if you're doing anything that's going against a law, a statute, or a commandment, it's sin. You don't have to say what has to come out of the first 5 books. That's carnal. Things are sin that your father says to do and you don't do. It becomes sin. Your husband gives law and you don't apply it, that becomes sin. You tell your children XYZ, they don't do it, it becomes sin. All unrighteousness, the angels give commandments. I mean, what happened when you go to let me get this quick precept real fast. Right? In the book of Judges, the 13th chapter. The angel told, right, Samson's parents to let his hair grow. That was a commandment. Now they can't say, well, where in the law does an angel come down and say these things? I don't want to listen to it. Right? This is Judges chapter 13, right? In verse number 3. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman and said unto her, behold, now thou art barren and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive and bear a son. Now, therefore, behold, I pray thee, and drink not wine, nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come upon his head. For the child shall be a Nazarite unto God from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines. Right? So if you're doing any unrighteousness, it's sin. From angel, father, mother, husband. And there is a sin not unto death. Meaning what? There's certain sins that are not going to get you put to death. If I don't wear my fringes, today because I forgot, you understand, I was rushing out the house. It was an emergency. It was a fire. We had to exit the apartment or your house, whatever the case may be, and I'm outside. Lord willing, I'm not going to be destroyed because I don't have my fringes on. Lord willing, I didn't keep the new moon because I got locked up. Right? For preaching the word, I got locked up. They never gave me a bail. I lose track of time. They put me in an insane asylum. They locked the door. I can't look at the sun, moon, stars, have any calendar or touch of the outside world. I'm not keeping no commandments, right? I'm not going to be killed for that. But adultery, murder, there's certain sins that are sins unto death. There's nothing you can do about it in the ancient world. You have to die. You have to be stoned, brought before the elders of the congregation, and you have to die to death. So there are sins not unto death, there are sins unto death, right? You got usury, plagues, pledges, fringes, a lie, unjust dealings, stealing, giving back fourfold. There's certain things you're not going to die from. Verse 18. We know that whosoever is born of God sinneth not, but he that is begotten of God keepeth himself, right? And that wicked one toucheth him not. Right, so I can make sure I got this right. Yeah, 17. So, that's pretty much what it is, King. All unrighteousness is sin. I think you may be talking about verse 16. I'm not sure, but I'm going to read it and give the sense just in case you wanted 16 and 17 because they kind of go together. If any man see his brother sin a sin, which is not unto death, meaning if I see my brother going off and he's sinning, but it's not a sin to where he should be stoned to death, he shall ask, and he shall give him life for them that sin not unto death. The life is talking about blood, which is animal sacrifice. He shall give him life. Life is blood, right? That's Leviticus, the 17th chapter. So if I see my brother going the hell off, but it's not unto death, I got to grab him up, yoke him up, rebuke him, right? Admonish him, and that shall give life unto life, meaning he will have to give an offering to atone from that sin. right? Let me get this real fast. It's the mighty book of Leviticus, right? Chapter 17 and 11. For the life of the flesh is in the blood. That's life for life. That's what it's talking about. And I have given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement for your souls. For it is the blood that maketh an atonement for your souls. So it's that blood that has you not to be able to be chastised and those sins build up unto your destruction, right? It says, and he shall give him life for them that sin not unto death. There is a sin unto death, right? Adultery. I do not say that he shall pay for it. Meaning you can't pray or pay for adultery in the ancient world or certain things. It's just a sin and a death. But the Lord has set you free through those things. All right, Shalom, is it wise to stock up for Jacob's trouble or just put our trust in Yahweh Shem Yahushua, the water? Right? Excellent questions. Let's go to the mighty book of 2nd Ezra. All right, chapter 15. And I'm going to start at verse. I'm going to start at 6. For wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. So the Lord said, look, wickedness is going to touch all the earth. There's no place where you could go or no crevice where you're going to be able to hide from the evil workers of iniquity and all the people that are ravishing the earth and robbing the earth. The Lord said, this is the mind of somebody gathering up fruit, flashlights, water containers, light bulbs, different things to survive with. There's nothing wrong with doing that. There's nothing wrong at all with doing that. But once that becomes your mind of escape or safety, that's when a spirit is behind it we can get overthrown by. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon the earth that they think themselves to be in good case. I mean, it's not that bad. I mean, I done stocked up on all my canned goods. I done stocked up. They show you that in that movie, Left Behind. I think that's what it's called. That Netflix movie. I'm not sure what it's called. I think it's called Left Behind. I could be wrong. Maybe not Left Behind. Brothers know what I'm talking about. That Netflix movie. What is it called? Leave the World Behind. Yeah, Leave the World Behind. At the end of the movie, the woman, that little girl, she was in an underground bunker and she was eating and she had everything stocked up. She had her cereal, her oatmeal, all her water. She had everything down there. And, it looked like she was in peace. That's what it looked like. It says, behold, so shall Salakia, victuals shall be so good cheap upon the earth that they think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. So as you think yourself to be in good case by the victuals is food that you have laid up. The Lord said things are going to increase. For many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. One thing you got to keep in mind about not eating in a famine is this. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 10. This is Proverbs chapter 10 and 3. The Lord will not suffer the soul of the righteous to famish, but he casteth away the substance of the wicked. So if you're a righteous woman, you're not going to go without food. You're going to eat. No matter if you stocked up beans, if you stocked up processed foods, if you stocked up whatever the case may be in canned goods and packs, and you have a book bag, flashlight, no matter what's going on, the Lord will not suffer the soul of the famished. It's like the righteous to famish. So your righteousness is what's really important for you to focus on. Because if you're righteous, it doesn't matter where you go, who you talking to, or what temperature it is of the day and who's around, the Lord's going to feed you. The Lord is not a man that he shall lie. Right? So it says, I'm going to read that part again, verse 22. it says, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So if I was you, right, if you're single, married, whatever case may be, I wouldn't worry about that as of now. I would stock up on righteousness, faith, mercy, alms, right? Had a spirit of Tobit. Tobit had a beautiful spirit. He had a spirit to where he dug up, you understand, and gave a proper burial to the dead, risked his whole life, right? He didn't care about the heathen and captivity. His righteousness was built up so much that the Lord gave him a ladder increased in. So that's the most important part, is your spirit. And the Most High will do the rest. Right? Shalom, King. It says, who are the Phoenicians? Now, the Phoenicians aren't necessarily a race. The Phoenicians are like a landmass. Like you have the Chaldeans. Like Abraham was called the Chaldean. You have Mesopotamia, right? The Mesopotamians, right? The Mesopotamians isn't a race. It's throughout the Levant, right, in that coast. So the Syrophoenicians or the Phoenicians are inhabited that coast, I believe, south of Syria or around Syria. All right, let me get this real fast. Get that question. Matter of fact, and also the Lord talked about that in Mark, the 7th chapter. I want to get this quick precept. So you had Laban that was called Assyrian. Laban wasn't Assyrian. He wasn't Assyrian, right? But he lived around that mass, right? Let me get this real fast. This is the mighty book of Mark, chapter 7, and verse. Is this what I want? So I can bear with me. Yeah. It says, for a certain woman whose young daughter had an unclean spirit heard of him and came and fell at his feet. And this woman was a Greek, a Syrophoenician by nation. And she besought him that he would cast forth the devil out of her daughter. So this woman wasn't a Greek. She wasn't a white woman, but they were Hellenized by the Greeks. The Greeks Hellenized not only Israelites, but also Africans. Because when Alexander the Great were in his conquest, he even conquered parts of Tyre and Zidon, right? And Hellenized those people. A Syrophoenician, right? That's an African by nation. And besought him that he would cast forth the devil out of her daughter. So you can see in the New Testament, a lot of people are called Greeks, Syrophoenicians, but when you go into it, like I said, I'm about to pull that up. Syrophoenicians, right? A person who inhabits the city and states of Syrophoene, which is Babylos, Sidon, Tyre, or one of the colonies. It is along eastern Mediterranean trade, right? So like I was saying earlier, it's around the Mediterranean, right? That doesn't mean that it's a Pacific nation, right? There aren't a Pacific people, but they are inhabited the Levant, like I was going into, the Levant, right? It says by the second millennium BCE, they had settled in the Levant. Now that's a place in a coast, North Africa. Africa, you have Tyre and Zidon. So a lot of those people may be called Phoenicians, right? And the Canaanites in the New Testament. It said Anatolia and Cyprus, they traded wood, cloth, dyes, and embroidery, right? Now I want to touch on the Levant. Now the Levant isn't a nation, right? Israel, that's a nation. You got Lebanon, right? You got Jordan, you got Iraq, Egypt. You have places that are inhabited around, right? The Levant. You have the Mediterranean Sea. Like I said, Abraham was known as a Chaldean, Ur of the Chaldees. because of where he lived in that coast where he lived at. So that's more of like a whole collective name of Tyre, Zidon, parts of Syria, than a Pacific people. Right, let me see if I could pull that up real fast and prove that. Let me see. It says the territory of the Phoenicians expanded and contracted throughout history, with the core of their culture stretching from Award in modern Syria. See? So, I mean, depending on who you're talking to and the time frame of what you're saying and how you breaking it down, you could equate this to the Canaanites, but you could also equate this to the Syrians, but you could also equate this to strangers travel. Like I said, it's more like a Levant, like a big landmass and a collective amount of people than a Pacific nation. Right? Let's go to the next question. All right, Shalom, I need understanding on 2nd Chronicles 22 and 2nd Kings 8 and 26. Right? 42 or 22. Some brothers said it's a very insignificant error, but other brothers said there are no errors, but have explained it yet. Right? That's a mighty question, man. I mean, we getting prophecy questions. Is there an error question? Scribe questions? Right direction of the sun, moon, and stars? It's a lot of things going on through the spirit. Right? I believe you quoted 2nd Chronicles 22 and 2. Let's go to it. And it reads, it says, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem made Ahaziah, the youngest son, king in his stead, and band of men that came with the Arabians to the camp had slain all the elders. So Ahaziah, the son of Joram, king of Judah, reigned. 42 years old was Ahaziah, right? It says 42 years. So one context, it says 42. And in another context, it says 22. So a brother may say, well, hold on, man. What's going on? I don't understand. Why is one context saying one thing and another context is saying another thing? Let's go to 2nd Kings. Who was that? 8 and Salaki, bear with me. 26. Right? It says 2 and 20 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem, and his mother name was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri, king of Israel. Now, a lot of people, they read both of these contexts, but they don't scroll up and read from verse. Let's start at, see where we want to start at. Let's start at verse 17. All right? And we're going to read all the way down from, let me see. Yeah, I'm going to start at 17. I don't want to read too much. 32 years old was he when he began to reign. Now, hold on. Who is this? This is his father. So if his father was 32 and 8 years on to that would have made him 40. But that's reading. It says, in the 5th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, Jehoshaphat, being then king of Judah, Joram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, began to reign. So Joram, he reigned. That's the father, right, of Ahaziah. So it says 32 years old was he when he began to reign. And he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem, which would have made him 40. At the age of 40, that's when he died. So his son couldn't have been 42 years old. Would have made sense that around 22, he could have had him around 18 years old. For him to be 22 years old when he started the reign, when his father died at 40. You can't have your son older than you. Right? But that's proved that. Check that out. All right. Now, it says he was 40 years old when he died. His children, this king right here in question, Hazael, king of Judah, right? Spouse Athaliah, the mother, right, of, the king. So he's 40 years old. This is his children. Now we click on him, right? So like, bear with me. These are his parents. So it's showing you accuracy that that's his father and that's his child. You want to make that a parallel real fast. He's 32 when he began to reign. And he reigned 8 years, reading on down. And he walked in the ways of the kings of Israel and did the house of Ahab, right? And the daughter of Ahab, his wife, and did evil in the sight of the Lord, right? He was going off, right? Jumping all the way down to verse 26. 22 years old was Ahazah when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem, and his mother name is Athaliah, the daughter of Omri, the king. So this is the accurate age of this king in question. Now, in 2 Chronicles, 42 years old, when he would begin to reign, he can't reign if his father is still alive. He would have to reign after his father gave up the ghost. So he can't be 42. His father's 40, giving up the ghost. And this is an accurate, account. You do have scribes and different things as you go into chronological order and history in the scriptures. This is where heavy scholarship comes in and faith, because you have to have a mind to understand one thing, that you have to believe the words of God. Right? A lot of things like may say, like in Mark, we just went through, she was a Greek, then she's a Phoenician. Hold on, is she Greek? Is she not? The other context is she was a Canaanite. This is where like asking questions and scholarship and patience comes in. I remember a long time ago when I was first coming into the truth, I was talking to a brother. I remember like it was yesterday. We were walking, and he said, "I don't care if I don't know how to break it down. I'ma still believe." And that's still set with me even to this very day, because if I don't know how to break down something, that don't mean that's going to shake my faith. Certain stuff is just too high for certain people. There's stuff too high for me. There's stuff too high for you. There's stuff too high for this brother and this sister. That doesn't mean that should shake their faith. A lot of people can't break down 2nd Ezra, Daniel, and Ezekiel, and then they dive into it. It may lead them to another platform or a breakdown, and it starts to shake their mind or overthrow them. The Lord said in the book of Hebrews, let me get this quick precept. Let's go to the mighty book of Hebrews, the 10th chapter. It's Hebrews chapter 10, right? And I'm going to start. Matter of fact, I'm going to get, this is a mighty chapter too. I could read this, but I want Hebrews. Let's see. Hebrews. Bear with me. What the specific precept. $27. I'm gonna start at 26. Hebrews 12 and 26. It says, "Whose voice then shook the earth, but now he have promised, saying, Yet once more I shake not the earth only, but also the heavens. And this word, yet once more, signified that it's like the removing of those things that are shaken." The Lord said he removes things that are shaken. If you're shaken, not saying the brother that asked the question is shaken, but if anything in these scriptures shakes you, I don't know. If something's shaking your faith, throwing you out, I don't know if I'm really married. Is sex really marriage? I don't know if we're really living in the end times. Maybe it's all of this peer pressure from these camps. Maybe I'll just stop watching. Maybe if you start getting shaken and tossed in the wind, and the Lord said, of those things that are made, that those things which cannot be shaken may remain. Meaning the Lord got to shake stuff up to whoever's shooken up and fall, that whoever can't be shooken can remain. That's mighty. And the Lord going to shake this earth. He going to shake up your mind, give you over to demons and spirits, philosophies and doctrines. If that shakes you and takes you away, then whoever didn't get shaken and remain is going to be the one that the Most High is with. It says this, wherefore we receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved, let us have grace, whereby we may serve God acceptably with reverence and godly fear. Right? So you have certain errors in a scribe, but that doesn't take away the spirit of the Most High. Nor does it take away what's written and the understanding thereof, because through discernment and the spirit of Yahweh Shai, we can discern the truth, right, of everything that is written. What I may not be able to understand, the next brother can. He'll elaborate to me, right? What I may be able to understand, I break down, you understand, to this sister or this brother. So the spirit of the Most High is evident upon the earth, and the truth's always going to be elaborated upon. Right? So I wouldn't let what a lot of people may say a contradiction and or an error or anything overthrow my mind, my faith, or the understanding of what's written. Let's go to the next question. It says, Shalom King, in second Esdras was the 7 visions given to Ezra about modern day Israelites, us. 3 questions was about us suffering for what is going on now or what our forefathers did. Right? I'm not understanding the question. Was the 7 visions given to Ezra about modern day Israelites? Ezra is extremely deep. I don't want to map up all of his visions into one answer. I'd rather break down each one of a specific vision. You know, lest evil will befall me, and somebody take what I say out of context, believe it, you know, and or be overthrown by what I'm saying. I'd rather specifically dive into each and every prophecy that the Most High gave him to rightly divide, right, the truth from fables of men's doctrines and understanding. So if you could put that back in the chat, you know, if you got a specific, you know, prophecy, question, you know, and or precept I could dive into, but the scriptures are double to that which is, you know, so there are a lot of things in Ezra that are foretelling the future. There are some things that happened already in the past during the time of Egypt, and there are certain things that were happening during the time of Ezra. But I could break down those 3, you know, just to give you the spirit in a sense, you know, since I don't have a specific prophecy in mind to go to. You have the past of Ezra. That's second Esdras 1 and 5. Go thy way and shew my people their sinful deeds, their children, their wickedness, which they have done against me, that they may tell their children's children. Meaning, go remind them of all of the wickedness they've been doing from the time of Moses to the time we living in now, that they may tell their children to the children in the future. So you have things that he talks about, like the first chapter, going into Egypt, right, that were past, right? Talking about the tents and murmuring thereof and going into Egypt. But he also has things in Ezra that were going on during the time of Ezra. Let's go to Ezra chapter 5. And I'm going to start at verse 16. And then the second night it came to pass that Sheshalil, the captain of the people, came unto me saying, where hast thou been? This is a physical account. This isn't something that happened, you know, 2,000 years ago, right, from Ezra or whatever the case may be, and during the future. And why is thy countenance so heavy? Knowest thou not that Israel is committed unto thee in the land of their captivity? Up then, eat bread and forsake us not. Meaning Israel belongs to you in the land of their captivity. So during the time of Ezra, right, it's saying that Pacific captivity that's going in right now, we're committed unto thee. Because Ezra was a priest and over them in the spirit. Up then, eat bread and forsake us not, as the shepherd that leaveth his flock in the hand of cruel wolves. Then said I unto him, go thy way from me and come not nigh me. And he heard what I said and went from me. Check that out. So you have what was going on during Ezra. Then you have prophecy in Ezra, right? Let's go to second Esdras 16 in the classic. Right? I'm going to start at verse number 7. For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. So talking about what? Jacob's trouble, the third abomination of desolation. And that's a future prophecy. So you have the 3 in the different times of the visions that he had. So like I said, if you want to get more specific, you could ask your question again in the chat. Right? We in order, going down the line. All right, Shalom, Shalom, Israel. Right, what's the breakdown of Acts 7:43, Amos 5:26? All right, let's go to Acts 7:43. Now, the breakdown of it is, it's simple, right? It's going into the star of Molech. Now, the star of Molech, or the god of Molech, was a sacrificing child god, where they would pass their children through Molech, and he would have his arms raised out, and they would sacrifice what they would call innocency or purity, because each sacrifice has to be pure. The Lord wants a year old, heifer, whatever the case may be. Right, the herds, you take it without spot and without blemish, who has not had the yoke be placed upon their neck. Well, like you read about in Numbers, the 19th chapter. Let me get that real fast. So these sacrifices had to be pure. And they even knew that in wickedness. Right? This is Numbers chapter 19, right? In verse number 2. Now, this is righteousness, but, people take that and use it for wickedness. This is the ordinance of the law, which the Lord hath commanded, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, that they bring thee a red heifer without spot, wherein is no blemish, and upon which never came yoke. Meaning he could have no blemish, but if you put a yoke on him and yoke them up for work, look, we can't use it. But he had to have no yoke placed upon his work, his neck placed upon a field, and he has to have no spot and blemish. That's how pure these animals had to be sacrificed unto the Lord. How much more these children? Now, you even know that the Lord said in the day that you came out, right, your children had no knowledge of good and evil. So a child is what the world would call innocent. All right, let me get that real fast. This is, when I say a child, I don't mean your 4-year-old that stole the cookies, man. Rolled under the bed and was eating them and looking up, man, sneakily, right? That has all type of damn leaven in his mind of what he's going to steal next. When I say innocent little one, I mean you have no knowledge of good and evil. A baby that can't even hold his head up. This is Deuteronomy 1:39. Moreover, your little ones, which he said should be a prey, and your children, which in that day had no knowledge between good and evil, they shall go in thither. Now, this is really the 20 years old and under, right, in the wilderness, but it's all spiritual to being born again, when you read the law. And unto them will I give it, and they shall possess it. So going into the little ones just going into purity, but they are some ones that do know good and evil that are young. Now, the god of Molech, get that real fast, or the star of Molech, and that's what they call astrology, and it's going into the god of Molech, which is the child sacrificing god. Look at it right here. All right, let me pull the precept. I ain't never pulled a precept, Salaki. Let me get that quick precept. I believe that was Acts 7 and 43. And it reads, it says, yeah, ye took up the tabernacle of Molech and the star of your god Ramanan, figures which he made to worship them, and I will carry you away beyond Babylon. All right, so let's go to it. This was a child sacrificing God. Now, this isn't a new thing. This was going in all the way in the wilderness, during the time of the wilderness. Let's get that real fast. In the book of Leviticus, this 20th chapter. Verse 2. Again, thou shalt say to the children of Israel, whosoever he be of the children of Israel or of the strangers that sojourn in Israel, that giveth any of his seed unto Molech. His seed, meaning his child, unto Molech, because they would sacrifice their children unto this false god. That was like a thing back then, because it represents purity. Because if you give your own son up, hey, the Most High gave Yahushua up. Abraham was about to give Isaac up. These fools in Egypt were going to give their own seed up of their children to this false god. That was like the ultimate level of sacrifice. But they were doing it in wickedness. Right? And on another level, that's why you have the Baphomet, because it's going back to these gods of Egypt, the bull, the ram. That's the Egyptian spirit all over again, right? So it says, figures which ye worship them, and I will carry you away beyond Babylon. Now let's go to the other precept the brother pulled. I believe it's quoting the same exact thing, but for the sake of the edification and bringing it back out. All right, it's the mighty book of Amos, chapter 5 and verse 26. But ye have borne the tabernacle of your Molech, and Churim your images, the star of your God, which ye made to yourselves. So it's saying the same thing. These are all deities, right? Canaanite deities. Let me get this real fast in Wisdom of Solomon, because that's where we got a lot of our customs at ancient Egypt, to go the hell off. That's why we're corrupted when we're around these nations, man. When you're around Americans in America too long, you get Americanized. That's why the Lord said, after the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwell, shall ye not do, man. Because we were just coming out of Egypt, and you still had that Egyptian mindset. Look at Solomon when he dealt with all his wives, they turned his mind dealing with these other nations. This Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12, and verse 3. It says, for it was thy will to destroy by the hands of our fathers both those old inhabitants of the Holy Land. The old inhabitants of the Holy Land is those 7 Canaanite nations. It's called the Holy Land because we took that land. That land belongs to us. We took it and we dwelt in it during the conquest of Joshua. And we took down all of those nations. So that's really the Holy Land that those heathen dwelt in. We swept them out of it and killed them and destroyed them. It says, whom thou hatest, meaning we hated these 7 Canaanite nations, or so like if we're doing most odious works of witchcraft and wicked sacrifices. The wicked sacrifices is what? Molech, Seraphim, and the stars, and all the things that they were doing, we were doing. And also those merciless murders of children and devourers of man's flesh and the feast of blood. Who's known for drinking blood, man? An African. I don't know if they got it on Google. Look at this. This is what they do. They drink blood. They shave off the corners of their beards. They put tattoos all on their body for tribal marks. That the very things the Lord is giving us commandments for, it's like he gave it to us because of the spirit of what was going on in Egypt. They drinking blood. Look at this. So it says, and also those merciless murders of children. and devour of man's flesh and feast of blood. They're feasting on blood. They're just feasting. Meaning drinking and eating. Now I want to start at Amos 5 and 25. Have ye offered unto me sacrifices or offerings in the wilderness 40 years, O house of Israel? But ye have borne the tabernacle of your Molech. Meaning, instead of doing sacrifices unto me, that's why Moses said, let us free that we may sacrifice in the wilderness. Right? Moses said that, man. But what happened when they went off? Let me get that quick precept. That's why the Lord said, have you sacrificed to me? Salakia. Exodus chapter 3 and 18. Let me get that real fast. And they shall hearken unto thy voice, and thou shalt come, and the elders of Israel unto the king of Egypt, and they shall say unto him, the Lord God of the Hebrews hath met with us. And now let us go, we beseech thee, 3 days' journey into the wilderness, that we may sacrifice to the Lord our God. But they didn't want to do that, man. They didn't want to really sacrifice to the Most High. They wanted to sacrifice unto these false gods, right? So the Lord said the judgment for doing this is I'm going to carry you and cause you to go in captivity beyond Damascus. Right? Shalom, shalom. All right, next question. What will happen to those who died without knowing the truth? It's a mighty question. Let's go to the mighty book of Romans, the 10th chapter. Let's go to the mighty book of Romans, the 10th chapter. Salakia. It's the mighty book of Romans, chapter 10, and I'm going to start at verse 17. It says, so then faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. But I say, have they not heard? This is what the Lord said. Have they not heard? Yes, verily, their sound went into all the earth. Who is the there? The prophets, the men of God, the elders, the nobles, the kings. Everyone has heard Elias or Isaiah's report, man. Let me read this again. It says, I'm going to start at 15. How should they preach except they be sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things. But they have not all obeyed the gospel. For Elijah saith, Lord, who have believed our report? Elijah, so like Isaiah isn't just one man in the spirit. He represents all of the prophets. I mean, who has believed our report? From all of the times and the generations of teaching. That's why I said, so faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. But I say, have they not heard? Yes, verily, their sound went into all the earth. Meaning those that are preaching Isaiah's gospel through Yahweh Shai, which is the good tidings, right? In Isaiah chapter 61. And their words unto the ends of the world. So the ends of the world are going to hear this truth. Now, you may not hear it the way the next man may hear it. You know, it may just brush past you as you're going to work. You may see the prophets. Or your cousin may say, I'm an Israelite. You know, you got to do some research on that. Or maybe in the end days, they put up on a book bulletin board, all black Hebrew Israelites are to be condemned and destroyed. Right? Those that say that their heritage is blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, that say that they repent and keep God's commandments. This truth and this faith is going to be throughout every part of the earth. Everyone's going to hear it. Right? It says, let me get this quick precept. So I'm thinking of 2 precepts. I'm already in Romans, so I'm going to get Romans 11. It's Romans chapter 11 in verse number 7. What then? Israel had not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election have obtained it, and the rest were blinded. So a lot of people are going to be blind to hear the truth, meaning the Most High is not going to give them an opportunity for it to resonate. A lot of people can't hear the truth. Right? Let me get this quick precept, because they're blinded. What happened in the book of John, chapter 12, right, in verse 27 through 29? Let's read it. I'm going to start at 28. Father, glorify thy name. Then came there a voice from heaven saying, I have both glorified it and will glorify it again. This is a voice from the heavens. The people, therefore, that stood by heard it and said, it thundered. Others said, an angel speaketh to him. Meaning they're confused. One saying it's an angel, the other one saying it's just lightning and thunder. They can't hear what the Most High is saying to Yahushua because it's not for them. Everybody can't hear, although they can hear. That's why it's spiritual. He that have ears to hear, let him hear. Let me get this other quick precept in the book of, let me see what I want. Acts, the 9th chapter. Right? This is Acts chapter 9. Right? Let me see what I want. I don't want to read too long. Right? I'm going to just read it. It's the book of Acts chapter 9 and verse number 4. And he fell to the earth and heard a voice saying unto him, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? Right? So Paul heard the Lord out of a chariot speaking to him, why persecutest me? Because when you persecute my people, you killing me. And he said, who art thou, Lord? And Lord said, I am Yahushua, whom thou persecutest. It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. I mean, it's hard for you to deny this one, man. You don't want to believe Yahushua's name. Well, it's hard for you to explain this. Verse 6. And he trembled and astonished, said, Lord, what wilt thou have me to do? And the Lord said unto him, arise and go into the city, and it shall be told thee what thou must do. And the men, is the point, which journeyed with him stood speechless. So Paul was with people when Yahushua pulled up on him in the chariot, hearing a voice, but seeing no man. Meaning they heard a voice, but they didn't really see the similitude of what man speaking. Meaning they saw it, but they didn't see it. It says the same thing in Acts, the 22nd chapter, I believe. It says that they didn't hear the voice. So it's not a contradiction. You can hear somebody talking, but not hear somebody talking at the same time. You know, you could be talking to your child, clean those dishes, do this, do this, do this. And at the end of it, repeat what I said, boy. Right? He don't know what you just said. People hear the truth. They're aware of the truth, but they don't care. It's not for them. This is the book of Acts chapter 22 and 9. It says, this is the same account. And they that were with me saw indeed the light and were afraid, but they heard not the voice of him that spake. So in one account said they heard, but the other account said that they didn't hear. That word hear in the Hebrew, so like in the Greek, is to interpret and understand, right? When you go into the blue letter, right? So what's going to happen to those souls, right? Let me get the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 11. It's like in chapter 10. Right? So Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 10. Right? And I'm going to start at verse number 13. When the righteous was sold, she forsook him not, but delivered him from sin. she went down with him into the pit. This is talking about wisdom. We're the righteous. When I say we, I mean the nation of Israel, the righteous of Israel. When the righteous was sold, meaning put in slavery, she forsook him not, but delivered him from sin. She went down with him into the pit. So wisdom never left the earth. Like Elijah said, Lord, they have dug down all our altars. It is but me. But the Lord said, I have reserved unto me 7,000 men, which have not bowed the knee to Baal. It says, and left him not in bonds till she brought him the scepter of the kingdom and power against those that oppress him. As for them that have accused him, she shewed them to be liars and gave them a perpetual glory. Now, what's going to happen to people that don't know the truth or that hear it and don't listen to it? Hear it and don't listen to it. The Lord's going to destroy those people, but he's going to judge them in the latter end on the days of the earth. This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon 4 and 18. It says, then, Salakia, they shall see him and despise him, but God shall laugh them to scorn. And they shall hereafter be a vile carcass and a reproach among the dead forevermore. For he shall rend them and cast them down headlong, and they shall be speechless. And he shall shake them from the foundation, and they shall be utterly laid waste, and be in sorrow, and the memorial shall perish. And when they cast up the accounts of their sins, they shall come with fear, and their own iniquities shall convince them to their face. That's in the day of judgment. For those that don't listen and apply the words of God. But like the Lord says in Matthew chapter 24 and 13 and 14, this gospel shall be preached for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Paraphrasing greatly. Right? We diving into it. All right, we just broke down this question. The brother, he asked it again. Right? Should we be prepared to leave the U.S. if we are able? Right? Well, that decision is on you if you want to leave the U.S., but that's not going to have you to escape Jacob's trouble. The trouble of Jacob is going to be everywhere throughout the four corners of the earth, not just in Babylon. Jacob's trouble is going to be throughout the four corners of the earth. Right? Let's get the mighty book of Jeremiah. Salakia. This quick precept. 30. Right, and it reads, it says, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. We got to read that latter part. But he shall be saved out of it. For it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. So no matter where you are throughout the four corners of the earth, troublous times are going to happen. Hell, destruction, vengeance, right? Prophecy is going to kick out. It's already happening in these third world countries. There's already civil wars and things going on in Russia, in Iran, and Iraq, right? In parts of China, right? In Taiwan and Ukraine, right? All of these places are gearing up for war and or have been invaded, bombed, right? And or are fighting against one another. So no matter where you go, it's going to be a worldwide hunt to destroy you. Remember, the Lord said all nations shall hate you, paraphrasing greatly, in the book of Matthew chapter 24. You should be hated for my name's sake. So there's nowhere on this earth where you could go where nations aren't going to be to hate you for his name's sake. So, I mean, I wouldn't leave because there's nowhere to go. Now, a lot of people may say, well, we fled out of Egypt, we did this, we did that, and they try to take a physical account with the prophecy and foretelling of the end days, what prophesied it to come out of the north? That's what the word of God says in the book of Jeremiah. What prophesied it to come out of the north? So there's nothing wrong with coming out of the north. You're going to come out of the north. Now, if you leave, not to say that the Lord won't still beam you up and take you, but I mean, you don't have to be, I would say, frantic in your mind of how and where to go, and the Most High is going to be with you. And that's a topic of discussion. A lot of people leave America, but when you leave America, what does that mean? What precept says that you're safe? The Lord said, I'm thinking of this other precept. Let me get this quick precept real fast. It's the mighty book, right, of Amos, chapter 5. And I'm going to start at verse 18. Woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. To what end is it for you? The day of the Lord is darkness and not light, as if a man did flee from a lion and a bear met him. So you could flee from the lion. And we know who the lion is on the left-hand side. Babylon. It's the beast, right? And a bear met him. Who is a bear? Russia's the bear, right? But we breaking this down super spiritually. But I'm just saying, no matter where you go in these different nations, these nations are beasts. And these beasts hunt for the prey. No matter where you are, you're going to get devoured if you're the wicked. A bear met him or went into the house and leaned upon his hand upon the wall, and a serpent bit him. Check that out. So the Lord is telling you the day of God and the day of the Lord and vengeance, it will find you. There's nowhere to go, nor is there any safety upon this earth, but under the pavilion and refuge and feathers of the Most High. Shalom King, could the show The Walking Dead be based on Jacob's trouble and diseased people are hunting the elect? Could be a stretch. All right, let's go to Job. Let's go to the mighty book of Job, the 7th chapter. Now, I know it's a lot of zombie apocalypse movies and things like that, but it's what the Most High said. It's the book of Job, chapter 7, and I'm going to start at verse number 4. When I lie down, I say, when shall I arise? And the night be gone. And I am full of tossing to and fro until the dawning of the day. So when you lie down at night, when should you arise? Tossing, turning, you getting plagued in your sleep. My flesh is clothed with worms and clods of dust. My skin is broken and become loathsome. Right? Meaning this is a man, he goes down when he dies, his flesh becomes clothed with worms. Meaning worms eat the dead. Maggots, worms. That's what the Heavenly Father has created these creatures to be able to do, to cleanse the earth, right? To cleanse it, right, from the smell and, God forbid, all of those different things to break down your body. It says, my days are swifter than a weaver's shuttle and are spent without hope. Oh, remember that my life is when mine eyes shall no more see good. The eye of him that have seen me, meaning if any eye sees you on this earth, shall see me no more. I mean, you're not going to see your grandmother no more, man. You may see her in a dream, right? You may feel like an evil spirit is in your house, but you're never going to physically see your grandmother no more. She's not going to raise up out of the dead and start walking around and show herself to you, man. Like Casper. It says, the eye of him that seeth have seen me shall see me no more. Thine eyes are upon me, and I am not. Meaning you're here, and then you die. And when you die, your body is destroyed by the worms. Your spirit goes to the third heaven. In the days of vengeance to come, your body's already deteriorated. It's already destroyed. Now, I know in those cartoons and movies that like to be a little eye socket of the worm ate, and his ear is just chipped, and he has black teeth, and he's walking like Frankenstein and things like that. But that's not biblical, right? Let me get this other quick precept, right? I'm going to read on real fast. It says, as the clouds is consumed and vanish away, so he that goeth down to the grave shall come up no more. Meaning, once you're in the grave, you're not coming up no more. The only coming up of the grave is the resurrection. And both of those are by Yahushua. When he first was on the earth and when he's coming back again. Those are going to be the only two times where a resurrection has going to be taking place, and it's going to take place upon the earth. Let's go to the mighty book of Ecclesiastes. It's Ecclesiastes chapter 9. And I'm going to start at 3. This is an evil among all things that are done under the sun. There is one event unto all. The one event unto all isn't talking about everybody gets a job, right? Or everybody they have a bad hair day, man. The one event unto all is death. It says, yea, also the heart of the sons of men is full of evil, and madness is in their heart while they live. Meaning, wickedness is given unto men. The Lord said the evil seed is sown into Adam. It says, and ever that they go to be the dead. It's like you go to the dead. For to him that is joined to all living, there is hope. Meaning there's hope to see your brother again if he's alive. For a living dog is better than a dead lion. Meaning it's better to be a living dog. A living dog is like somebody that's poor, somebody that's in a hospital, somebody that's destitute. He's hungry. He's in a famine. It's better to be a living dog at a lower state than a dead lion, like Oprah, Denzel Washington, right? These rich elites, Tyler Perry, and all of these different people that are like a lion. A lion means rich, powerful, strong. It's better to be alive because you have hope than to die in wealth and vanity. For the living know that they shall die. I mean, I know, right, that I've died before. Most High willingness is the last lot, and we see the Lord. But I know that something could happen to me tonight or forevermore, and I'll die the death. But the dead know not anything, neither have they any more reward, for the memory of them is forgotten. You're not gonna say, hey, look at that Fred. Is that Fred, man? And Fred kind of walking like this, right? His damn hair has changed, right? His arm is missing. No, the Lord said, look, the memory of them is forgotten. Let me get this quick precept in the book of Sirach, right? Chapter 44. Right, it's the mighty book, right, of Sirach, chapter 44, in verse number 10. Right, I'm gonna start at 9. It says, and some there be which have no memorial, who are perished as though they had never been. And you're going to see certain people, they're going to perish. And it's going to be like they've never been on the earth. You're not going to see them again. You're not going to talk about them again. And are become as though they have never been born, and their children after them. Meaning, who is, I guess, the average Joe that was living in a tent in Sparta in the ancient world hundreds of years ago, man? Nobody knows. Nobody cares. It says, who these were merciful men whose righteousness have not been forgotten. Right? So it's just showing you names, bodies, lots, all of that's perished and passed and will never come up again from the grave. Right? All right, we are in the Q&A. Right? This is Ezekiel chapter 10 and 14. Do these angels have anything to do with the end days, or has the vision happened already? Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 10. Right, but that started at 10 before we read 14. Right, it's a beautiful chapter in Ezekiel. This is Ezekiel chapter 10. I'm going to start at 10. Right, and as for their appearance, they four had one likeness, as a will have been in the midst of a will. Now, these are on the river, right, of captivity when you read Ezekiel, the first chapter. Ezekiel's getting this vision. Now, my chronological order may be a little jammed up. I'm not trying to get too deep, but when you read Ezekiel, a lot of the visions happened during the beginning of his captivity in the first chapter, and he had a plethora of visions until a latter part or middle part of Ezekiel where the time frame kind of changes. Like everything didn't take place in Galilee when you read the book of Matthew, right? I mean, he went to Judea, he met Peter, James, John. You got to move along with the accounts in the chronological order. I want to stay at Ezekiel chapter 1 and 1. Now it came to pass in the 13th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, I was among the captives by the river of Cherubah, and the heavens were open, and I saw visions of God. So there were multiple visions showed Ezekiel. So while he was by the river in captivity, a cherub, he saw multiple signs and multiple visions during this time. It wasn't like he was just walking around or he went to sleep or whatever the case may be. He saw multiple visions during his time. The first chapter, the second chapter, the third chapter, the fourth chapter. Going through this is spiritual, and I want to dive into the 10th chapter. So as he's getting these visions, right? We'll start at 11. And when they went, Salakia, they went upon their four sides and turned not as they went. Now, what is this talking about? This is what Ezekiel saw while he was in Babylon. These are visions. Now, I want to pull something up. I just got a new sword. So I don't have my highlights in there. But I want to touch on something real fast. Right in Ezekiel. I'm going to go to Ezekiel chapter 11 and 22. And I'm going to come back to that precept. This is Ezekiel chapter 11 and verse 22. Right? And I'm going to start at 22. And it reads, Then did the cherubims lift up their wings and their wheels beside them, and the glory of God of Israel was over them above. And the glory of God went up from the midst of the city and stood upon the mountain which is on the east side of the city. Afterward, the Spirit took me up and brought me in a vision by the Spirit of God into Chaldea, to them of the captivity. So he had a couple of visions in Cherubah, right by the captives, and then by the spirit of the angels and the visions, the Spirit of God took him into Chaldea, to them of the captivity. So the vision that I had seen went up from me. Then I spake unto them of the captivity all the things that the Lord had shewed me. So he had different visions, different places, different parts of time when you read Ezekiel, right? Going to 11 till we get down to 14 to the question. When they went up upon their four sides. They turned not as they went. And then they're not double-minded. Wherever the angel sets his mind and face to go through the Spirit, that's where he's going to go. It's not like a plane. We're having turbulence, right? Then the plane kind of started going down. It says, but the place whither the head looked, they followed it and turned not as they went. And their whole body and their backs and their hands and their wings and their wheels were full of eyes round about, even the wheels, right, that forehead. Because they're the eyes of God that you read about in Proverbs, the 15th chapter, that you read about in the book of Zechariah, the 4th chapter, verse 11 and 10 all the way down. Various precepts, they're the eyes of the Most High. Like in Genesis, the 11th chapter, the Most High came down and viewed the city that the children of men had made during the Tower of Baal. Right, those are the eyes of the Lord. That's why they're filled up with their wings and around the chariots. It says, so like it as for the wheels, it was carried to them in my hearing, O will, and every one had four faces. And the first face, right, was the face of a cherub, and the second face, the face of man, and the third face of a lion, and the fourth face of an eagle. Now, those are like the spirit when you read Revelation, the 5th chapter, those same exact angels or the same exact visual. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 5 in verse, is this what I want? Right, bear with me. Right, let me get this quick precept. In Revelation chapter 4. That's what I want. 4 and 7. It's Revelation chapter 4 and verse 7. It says, and the first beast was like a lion, and the second beast like a calf, and the third had a face as a man, and the fourth beast was like a flying eagle. Check that out. So these are the cherubims, right? 6. That has 6 wings. You had the cherubims with 4, and the cherubims with 6. So although this one had a face like a lion, calf, face of a man, and an eagle, the ones in Ezekiel, everyone had 4 faces. The face was a face of a cherub, the second the face of a man, the third a face of a lion, and the fourth a face of an eagle, right? And the cherubims were lifted up. This is the living creature that I saw by the river of Cherub, right? So the Lord is just showing you these elected spirits that are traveling in these chariots. Every spirit don't necessarily travel in a chariot. There's certain spirits that just stay up in the third heaven day and night, worshiping the Most High. There's certain spirits that inhabit chariots. There's certain spirits that just roam the earth to and fro, keeping men from the tree of life. You have Jacob's ladder, where they ascend and descend. You have spirits like Asmodeus or Asmodeus that are bound up in Egypt that just run to and fro, right? So not to get too deep, the Pacific question, let me read it again, right? Do these angels have anything to do with the end days, or has this vision happened already, right? This wasn't necessarily a vision to take place. This is just what he saw, and he relayed the vision unto, his people of the captivity. Right? So many questions we got. Right? All praise to the Most High. These are great questions. Right? I'm gonna get a couple of more. Right? And we're gonna close out through the Spirit. Right? And it reads, Shalom, question. The only camp I have around me is IUIC to congregate on the Sabbath day with. Should I go just for the sake of congregating or not? Well, that would be your decision. I would never tell you not to congregate with IUIC. Right? Those brothers keep the commandments to the best of their ability. Those brothers teach to keep the commandments. Right? And those brothers believe in keeping the commandments. Right? So if you have the ability to congregate with them and your spirit bears witness to what they teach, then by all means you should congregate with them. If your spirit doesn't bear witness and it's something that you have regards upon, I wouldn't force myself into a congregation just for the sake of congregating. That's a lot of camps, not naming any Pacific camps, that you may join yourself to and be perverted or overthrown by their doctrines, their way of structure, and what they do. So that's a question that you would only have to ask yourself and be able to answer yourself and live with that decision. I can't counsel that specifically. As far as me, I'm not going nowhere because, I have a home at Watchman for Israel. But if I didn't, I don't know where the Most High would take me. Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to the mighty book of 1 Kings. This 1 Kings chapter 18 and verse 12. And it shall come to pass, right, as soon as I am gone from thee, that the Spirit of the Lord shall carry thee thither, I know not. So the Spirit of the Lord is going to carry you. May carry you to this camp, may carry you to that camp, may carry you to this congregation, may carry you to that congregation. That's not up for me to decide. It says, the Spirit of the Lord shall carry thee whither I know not. And so when I come to tell Ahab, he cannot find thee. he shall slay me, but I thy servant fear the Lord from my youth. Right. So that's like I said, I would pray on it, fast on it, or even go to witness what goes on there and see if that's a home for you. All right, question, where is the wilderness? Yeah, we touched on that. Are they silent vowels in the Hebrew language? We do the Hebrew lessons on the Cold Cuts channel. Most High willing, I can in depthly touch on that. That was the spirit. I was thinking about that. Going into sounds, greetings, just common knowledge, how to connect words, building a conversation. So most High willing, those lessons are coming soon. We're going to dive into that most High willing. Wisdom is the application of knowledge. Right? Shalom, brother. My question is, some people claim to have visited hell, near-death experience. Many have similar experiences, but aren't dead, supposed to stay asleep into the judgment day. Let me read that again. My question is, some people claim to have visited hell, neither death experience, near-death experience. Many have had similar experiences, but aren't the dead supposed to stay asleep until judgment day come? Right. Yeah, we kind of touched on that earlier with another question. Yeah, the dead are supposed to stay asleep until judgment day. Right. People that are claiming to have near-death experiences, and I went to Dante's Inferno and the 7 levels of hell, and that's all confusion. The Most High said he will give thee thy delusion. Those people are delusions. Those people are either extremely lost in their mind and mentally confused, given over to a delusion, or those people are false prophets and sorcerers to push a further strong agenda upon the people. Right? But yes, you're supposed to stay asleep, right, and fall asleep or die the death until the coming of the Lord. Right? So, that's kind of what it is, through the spirit. Right? We can go to the next question. What is the light and darkness in Genesis 1:3-5, being that on the third, the sun, moon, and stars weren't till the third day? It's a very, very mighty question. Let's go to it. Like I said, to the sister's question that just asked, that's 1 Thessalonians 4:16 all the way down. Let me just get one precept on that before I not be able to sleep good at night. This 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, right? And I'm going to start at verse 13. But I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep. And it's like that ye sorrow not, even as others which have no hope. For if we believe that Yahushua died and rose again, even so them which are asleep in Yahushua will God bring with him. Bring with him, meaning those spirits that are in the third heaven, he's going to bring back on earth to be the first ones resurrected. So they're asleep in their chambers, right? They're asleep as far as spiritually, they're not alive to be able to do any good and evil. They're at rest in the third heaven. Right? Now, touching on Genesis, as far as the light, what was that light in Genesis chapter 1, verse 3? Considering how the sun and the moon wasn't around. This is the book of Genesis chapter 1, and I'm going to start at verse 3, right? And it reads, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw that it was good, and God divided the light from darkness. Now, this is twofold. Now, I want to touch on 2nd Ezra. I want to get this quick precept. The Lord has something called his treasuries. Now, out of the Lord's treasuries, he poured the light which shined upon his creation that he may work. It's not talking about the sun, nor the moon, nor the stars. So again, let me get this quick precept. It's the mighty book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 6. And I'm going to start at verse, let's see what I want. 40. It says, I'm going to start at 39. It says, this whole thing is, I'm going to start at 38. And I said, O Lord, thou speakest from the beginning of the creation, even the first day, and saidest thus, let heaven and earth be made, and thy word was made perfect. It's like a perfect word. Now, 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, and Genesis, the 1st chapter, are parallel, saying the same exact thing. Just like you got parts of Wisdom of Solomon in Exodus. You have parts of Revelation, you got parts of the law. They're parallel together as you dive into the creation. Right, verse 39. And then was the spirit, and darkness and silence were on every side, and no sound of man's voice was not yet formed. So this is our realm. You have the third heaven, and the cherubims, they praise the Most High constantly. Right, there are unspeakable things, right, that we don't know about going on in the third heavens. But as far as man's voice, as in the earth, was not yet formed. Then commanded thou a fair light to come forth of thy treasures, that thy work might appear. So the Lord has what the scriptures call his treasures. Now, you don't want to get too deep trying to uncover the Lord's treasures, because you're going to bug out. Let's get the book of Jeremiah, the 10th chapter. This is Jeremiah chapter 10, right? And I'm going to start at verse, so I can bear with me. All right, I don't want to read too much. Verse 13, that's what I want. It says, when he uttered his voice, there is a multitude of waters, meaning the Most High, in heavens, and he causeth the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightnings with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of his treasures. So where does wind come from? The treasures. Where does light come from before the sun and the moon? Out of the Most High's treasures. Where does war come from? The Most High's treasures. So there are things, I don't, like I said, you don't want to get too deep. Like he pulls it out of what he calls treasures. Now, nobody knows what it looks like, and this is not it. Disclaimer. But somebody say this is exactly what the treasures are. But to pull something out of nowhere, I mean, just your mortal understanding, which we don't have any. And we don't have the mind of the Most High, nor do we try. But the Lord pulls these things out of what's classified as a treasure. Just like the priests had a storehouse where they would gather things out of the storehouse. Well, let me get this real fast in Job. Let me get this quick precept. This is the mighty book of Job, right? Chapter 38 and verse 19, right? And it reads, where is the way where light dwelleth? So this is the Most High checking Job, right? Because Job, he had a little proud speech, lack of understanding, and the Most High got up with him, right? In Job chapter 38 and verse 1. Who is this that darketh my countenance with words without knowledge? Right, paraphrasing greatly. Words without wisdom. 19. Where is the way where light dwelleth? Meaning, where is light? It can't be the sun, because that's too easy of an answer. Anybody will say the sun. You can't confound the Most High. So this light that is talking about and darkness that is talking about can't be when the sun and the moon go down. It's deeper than darkness. Where is darkness? Can anybody open up Esau and look inside and see his spirit and see how it was constructed and what darkness is really dwelling in him, and how nobody can know that but the Most High. It says, where is the way where light dwelleth? And as for darkness, where is the place thereof? that thou shouldest take it to the bound thereof, and that thou shouldest know the paths to the house thereof. Knowest thou it because thou wast then born, or because the number of thy days is great? Hast thou entered into the treasures of snow? Meaning, where does snow come from? The Lord's treasures. So the treasures is the answer, and nobody knows what the treasures are. Don't go to a secret book, right? Don't dive into a false doctrine. It's the things unspeakable in the third heaven that the Lord pulls things out of on earth. Or hast thou seen the treasures of the hell, which I have reserved against the time of trouble, against the day of battle and war? Right? So that's what the light was that it's talking about. Right? There you go. Right? But with that, I'm about to close up. Right? I'm about to get this last closing precept. If I didn't get to your question, right, most high willing, we're going to do another Q&A, right? And we're going to be able to dive into it through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, right? Most high willing. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 3 and verse 2. Be watchful and strengthen the things which remain that are ready to die, for I have not found thy works perfect before God, right? So be watchful and understand what's going on in the earth. Watch your spirit, watch the feast days coming up, watch everything that you're over. You know, you have to be on fire as much as you can through the spirit. Remember therefore how thou hast received and heard, and hold fast and repent. If therefore thou hast not watched, thou shalt not watch, I will come in thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know what hour I will come upon thee. So most high willingness was edifying through the spirit. Continue to read, pray, and fast, and make your body live in sacrifice. With that, I want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, by Hashem HaMashiach, Malak Yahushua. Shalom.